Hi, my name is Rob Mortensen. I'm an assistant curator with the Aquarium of the Pacific. I'm assistant curator for the bird and mammal group. In particular, today we're talking about the male California sea lion Chase. I oversee the group that takes care of the animals. So in my case, I've got 6 different mammalogists, as we call them, which are animal care staff and training staff that take care of the animals. Oh, Chase is fantastic. Chase is about a 4-year-old male, so he is neutered. He probably will not be too much heavier than 300 pounds. Typically, males that are intact can get up to 700 to 800 pounds. So he'll be a much smaller animal. We do have one bull in the exhibit as well, and his weight fluctuates between 600, 700, and maybe down into the 500 pounds area. Well, I wasn't involved in the transport for Chase, but I did go down early to the facility that we received him from and took a look at him and was able to pick from a couple different optional animals to figure out which ones were going to fit best into our collection. Chase was the animal that we thought was going to be the best one to integrate into what we're doing here. So how do you determine which animal that you think is going to fit? Well, we look for animals that are going to fit well into the socio-pack. You know, we have an all-male group of sea lions here, including a dominant bull. Our bull, as I said earlier, can be up to 700 pounds, which is a pretty heavy animal. So you have to decide that you're going to have an animal that's not going to challenge for that hierarchy. You look for receptive responses to being in a public setting like this. Our exhibit is visited by the public. It's one of our more popular exhibits, so the animals are always on site with that. We also look for trainability. You know, is the animal going to be able to help us manage it in the collection? And when we found Chase, we thought he was going to be a really, really good candidate for that. Chase came from another AZA facility, which is Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and he came out of the Florida area. Well, the first thing we do with any one of the animals that we bring in is we quarantine them. So we want to make sure that if they had any diseases that they wouldn't transmit them to other parts of the collection. Whether that's a bird, a fish, or a marine mammal, that's an automatic safety precaution that we do, is we want to keep the animal in a back area for 30 to 60 days depending on the animal. Once they've cleared their medical and we're sure that they're good to go into the exhibit, then we just have to make sure that they have some trained basic behaviors. In the case of the sea lions, that's coming to us, learning how to station so that they can get their food so we don't have competitiveness between them. Sometimes we introduce a shape so the animal knows when I hold up their shape, it's their name tag, and they come over to that shape knowing which trainer they're working with. And we train some other small basic behaviors like shifting through doors and such as well. And they do get hazed a bit. I'm going to use your wording on that. There is some pecking order that has to be established with the animals, and sometimes if one comes in that's new and maybe a bigger animal or a more assertive animal, you will have some jostling back and forth until they reestablish the pecking order for that. But that's pretty normal. These are highly social animals. This is something that they do in the wild as well. They have groups that they hang out in, and there's a definite dominance order to how the group interacts. Whenever you get animals that are really close in the social order, they'll jockey for positions in the wild until they figure out what the social structure is going to look like. And we automatically assume we're going to see some of that as well. He has, but he's a little bit of a bigger animal, so he had a little bit easier time integrating into the collection. I think he was more accepted pretty readily in that, and less challenges to him. One of the things that makes sea lions so interesting to work with is they're very mobile on land and in the water. When we work with our harbor seals, for instance, you can't do as much on land with them because they kind of hop along on their belly. They're not very quick, they're not very agile on land. They're great in the water. Sea lions are great in the water and great on land, so that gives them a lot of maneuverability for us to deal with. That also can be a challenge for us too. If you're walking through a door and a sea lion wants to go with you, they will, and they can keep up with you at that pace. So you have to make sure you look behind you, shut the doors, keep some what we call stimulus control on them, so we can put them back in the water so that we can safely leave the exhibit if we need to. You know what? I love Chase. He's a very, very calm animal, and that's one of the things that we look for when we train the animals. How well is the animal going to adapt to the training process? A lot of times really intelligent animals will really push your buttons. So they'll take little shortcuts and they'll see what they can get away with, like kids. In the case of Chase, he's a very willing animal, very, very calm, so he's usually doing what we're asking him to do. Very cooperative. He wants to please. Well, we were looking for a new animal to add to our collection. We wanted to maintain 4 sea lions in our exhibit. One of the things that's really important for California sea lions are they're very, very social. So having a small group of them makes them feel better about their living circumstances. So whereas a harbor seal is a very solitary animal and they like to be by themselves, sea lions like to be in social groups. And so by exposing them to other animals and having these guys have a new playmate, you know, this gives them a lot of social interaction that's really, really important for their health. Well, Chase is in the exhibit right behind us. So this is at our Pinniped exhibit at the aquarium. and it's available it's available the whole time that we're open. So if you want to come on by and see, and then we do shows periodically throughout the day as well. So we typically do an 11:15 and a 3:15 show that are very high energy, and the animals are learning the basics that they need to know to help us to take care of them, whether that's simple things like brushing their teeth or more complex things like going behind a gated system and allowing us to move them and then move them back into the exhibit again. So they help us out with all their different elements of their healthcare.